if I could pick one thing that would be the most significant, is taking an abstract idea like the Republic of Florence, of its independence and its freedom and its beauty, taking these abstract concepts. And Michelangelo recreated those concepts in a human form. So the David is, yeah, it's a tall young man and it's nude and it's all this stuff, but the whole driving theme behind it was that it was representing Florence. And Florence was a young, vital city, extremely wealthy, very beautiful, taking on palpable forces of Rome. And Michelangelo is using a figurative sculpture to represent these very big concepts. So that's a tour de force there. He has interesting plays where the David is supposed to be a small teenager, or relatively small to a Goliath. So the theme of David and Goliath, and he's a teenager, and he's got to face this thing with the rock, sling and arrow, with sling and rock. And Michelangelo morphed that into one of his biggest sculptures ever. So it's this monumental, gigantic sculpture, but it's actually supposed to be a tiny guy, a teenager. And so Michelangelo's playing with an interesting thing that you don't have to be mature, you don't have to be a giant. You can use your youth and vitality, and you can take on the universe. You can take on anyone. So he's driving that point home. It's carried through in the expression of his face. He has a serious, thoughtful, and if you notice his eyes, it looks like he's gazing a pretty long distance. He's not nearsighted. He's seeing off into the distance far. And he's very serious about it, and he's relaxed. And if you look at tennis players like Roger Federer or something, when they're about to go into a battle, you can see them relax and calm, very peaceful. And that belies that they know they're going into something serious. So we've got a pose where he may seem a little bit languid, but it's like the calm before the storm. And we get an indication of that in his face. There's also the element of Michelangelo's genius in the sense that the block of marble had been lying around forever and had been damaged. There was some gouge in the middle of it. So it was a huge block of marble, narrow, I think a pillar, and it had a big gouge in it. And, no one knew what to do with this thing, and no one wanted to destroy it and cut it in half and make two things. And he'd been eyeing that and figuring, he'd seen it around in Florence, and he had his eye on that piece. And so he figured out how to do a composition in such a way that he could bypass that gouge. So there's a colossal problem to solve to do that sculpture. So we saw that as also a similar thing, that maybe the opposition to Florence, or the battles that Florence was going to have to engage in, were also significantly done. So Michelangelo had a way of turning that thing into also playing off of it, that's a similar battle technically, like how do you do this in a sculpture. So the concept of the city and its vitality and youth and beauty, and then Michelangelo turning that into a human figure to represent the city. It was a major integration of very big ideas and pulling them together.